You may recall that we've discussed on Washington Watch the plight of 11 pastors wrongfully jailed in Nicaragua on sham charges after they led Christian revivals that reached more than 1 million people. They were unjustly sentenced to prison terms ranging from between 12 to 15 years, handed down by the repressive regime of Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega and his wife, Rosario Murillo, who also serves as his vice president. But today, your prayers and the prayers of many around the world were answered. Joining me now with an update is Britt Hancock, a missionary to Nicaragua with the ministry Mountain Gateway. Britt, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Oh, thank you so much. We're thrilled to be here with a wonderful report.
Now, first, for those who may not know the background, how did they end up in prison in the first place?
In 2023, our ministry held a series of mass evangelism campaigns in Nicaragua. We had 6,000 evangelical churches working together on that campaign and thousands of volunteers. We had just over 1 million people come together in those 8 campaigns that we had in 2023. And the last campaign, we filled the national meeting space, the biggest space in the country in Managua, the capital city, and we had over 200,000 people the last night of our campaign there. And a month after that happened, they began to arrest all of our staff and pastors that worked with us in that.
Why did they see that as a problem? Was it some kind of threat to the government? Did they perceive it that way?
Yeah. We know that that's true. They have a history, particularly since 2018, of just really dealing harshly and crushing any people or group that they perceived as a threat that had any social influence, and particularly something that big that had that much unified response with such a large segment of the population. And so we know that that the freedom of the gospel doesn't mix well with totalitarian regime ideology. They're a communist dictatorship, and so that's just really their pattern for dealing with these kinds of things.
Yeah. Britt, do you think it was because of their Christian faith specifically, or just the fact that they had a large group, they had influence, they had leadership in any way that an authoritarian government would perceive as at least a potential for to be a threat, regardless of what motivates it ideologically?
We're sure that it was both. We were there for a long, long time. As evangelicals, a Christian ministry, working on the ground, but not until we seized, or we didn't seize, but not until the Lord really exploded such a massive movement. But the reason that movements of faith, particularly the gospel, is a threat to them is because we believe that relationship with Jesus is built on free will and love, and freedom is contrary to the tenets of communism. And the spiritual side of that is it's just a spirit of Antichrist. So however that gets expressed around the world, it's definitely religious persecution.
Well, you're here today, of course, because there's a happy ending to this story, and they spent 9 months in prison. And while I know that was not the preference of anybody, we've seen a good outcome. Tell us, how did these what were 12 to 15-year sentences, unjust though they may be, end up being released after 9 months?
Boy, what a complicated situation. I came to Washington, D.C. in early February. My wife and I did, and we began to lobby Congress and engaged with people. Tony Perkins helped us greatly, and so many others in Congress, and the entire Alabama delegation, just multiple members of Congress. The State Department got engaged. The Department of Homeland Security got engaged. The White House engaged. And then, as the press got involved, you all helped so much. So many, likely tens of thousands or maybe millions of people were praying. Mm-hmm. And that created this, matrix of pressure upon the Nicaraguan government. And then after, I don't know how many weeks or months of negotiation directly by the State Department with the Nicaraguan government, they were able to successfully negotiate the release of our dear friends.
In Britt, in about 30 seconds, how have you seen this story impact the church there in Nicaragua?
Well, right now what's going on is they're really shutting down many churches and ministries. I'm sure that the spiritual side of things is alive and well. The revival fire of God is burning in people's hearts. But this official repression is sowing a lot of fear and keeps people from speaking openly.
So this story is not over. We need to continue to pray. And of course, we need to pray for the gospel to continue to advance despite the oppression, but there's still work to do. Britt, thank you so much for your time today and your service to the kingdom.
Thank you so much. God bless you.